It's NutBallCop here on the exercise bike, doing a two for tonight. Uh, Trying to get my workout in and trying to get some thoughts out at the same time. Um, the biggest thing that's on my mind tonight is we we're in a deeper hole tonight as far as media, the free speech, broadcast rights, that sort of thing. The censorship of Teledactyro's interview on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Th- that's that's kind of embarrassingly bad. That's far worse than I thought these corporations would genuflex to dear leader porn star Humper and his crew, claiming that all of a sudden Brendan Carr is going to start um, uh, prosecuting um, interview shows because they didn't get the mix of uh, right mix of trying to turn down the resistance here. Oh, I'm still recovering from surgery, so it's always have to turn it down a little bit. So Brendan Carr saying, "Oh, I may enforce this equal time rule again," which no one has really enforced in a long time since we're no longer a three broadcast channel system with PBS and maybe an independent broadcaster in the region if you were a large enough city or rural enough where there was no majors. Um, he's going to say, well, if you don't let all the candidates speak, then it will be a violation of this FCC fair time rule. Um, for the CBS lawyers, from what I understand, they're the ones that made the decision to pull the interview out of the episode. Um, I posted the unedited full interview on Notes if you want to look at it, and then the follow up in the comments is the interview with Colbert explaining about how this all happened. And the fact is, it should have never, ever, ever happened. Um, I don't know what CBS is thinking. Um, I know there's corrupt ownership, influence, all that stuff going on, but still, just like NBC and ABC, you're still a network and you're still a product. And if you're seen as just lapdogs to a corrupt administration, especially the fact that we probably should rename the Epstein files the Trump files. I mean, last count I heard, he's in there 1 million times. Come on now. And everybody else in the world is taking this seriously, except us. But the fact that they would go to the point to pressure, because I'm sure there was some backward pressure. I don't think the CBS lawyers all of a sudden that afternoon jumped out of their chairs and went, "Oh my God, Brendan Carr is going to do something." I'm thinking there was a signal message or an email or a phone call, something, a Zoom meeting, where they were told, and we used to call it small room, when the political people, take you into a back room and give you a once over verbally, to get you back on track as they see it. You know, I can really see that happen with the CBS management and the lawyers. Um, and this is something that a lot of the Republicans should be having more of a problem with this. You may not like Stephen Colbert because he's very outspoken and very liberal, but the fact that the government would start enforcing ridiculous standards they haven't enforced in decades, when the media map was almost completely different. Okay. You can log on any day of the week, um, and see news and discussion from dozens upon dozens upon dozens of sources. You get on the internet, you have hundreds more. So it would be kind of ridiculous. And I don't see the federal courts looking at one candidate in a large space, the Texas U.S. Senate race, and saying that you can't interview one unless interviewed them all. That literally doesn't make any sense. Look at the road show the Republicans put on a few cycles ago for the primary, where they started introducing them like they were a fucking football team, and I'm like, how many were there? 14 at one point. Okay, you're telling me a show can't interview any candidate unless they interview all 14 candidates for the Republican primary for the president and show it all on the same day? That literally doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any formatting sense for the shows. Nobody designs their shows like that. Even traditional news outlets and the sit down, hard interview shows, or what should be hard interview shows. Some of them have gotten quite soft. Um, but yeah, the fact that this is happening, yeah, this is this will make you worry. Um, that this will make you worry, um, about what's coming next in the censorship block. You know, he loves dearly to porn star Humper. He loves threatening people's broadcast licenses. I don't know how in the world he would legally be successful or could politically survive attempting to take one of the big three channels off broadcast. That would be, that'd be seen like an Idi Amin move. I mean, so un-American. You didn't like what a guest said on a news interview show, so you take away not that stations, but the whole system, broadcast system, the national network system. You take that whole system away from not just the owners of the stations they're affiliated with, but you take that away from the consumer. And they say it with such flippant mannerisms. It's disturbing because I think it's one thing they've sat in the White House and actually discussed. I think they've had serious discussions on how we could get away with, even temporarily, taking ABC or NBC off the air. There won't be CBS, okay, because the CBS is in the right ownership hands to the current regime. They're a lot of the ownership has all aligned with Trump. Now, why so many people are doing this? Uh, it could be they think they could survive him out better. They just kiss his butt a couple of times a year, then he goes away. They don't really think he has a chance of taking power permanently or running for a third term or anything like that. And they're just trying to wait him out. The other one is obvious favoritism. The quid pro quo is so open, and the fact there's not a single case number opened on bribery, on anybody that shows up to the grift and gift parade. That seems to be standard fare now at the White House at any meeting. Oh, I'll favor legislation if you give me a fake trophy. I'll take away tariffs that affect your company and your business if you give me a gold trinket. This is pretty absurd. This is pretty absurd behavior. And now to get to the point where they're telling you we're not going to allow something to air. This is a Pentagon Papers level moment. This is about what the rights are. Um, of the presenters, of the reporters, of the journalists, of the production managers, what do they have a right to put out on the air now? And can their livelihood and their business be destroyed on the whims of somebody who's really spelling out that he wants to be a dictator? Is this where we're really going to go? If so, we're in a lot of fucking trouble. Just trying to figure if that was a truck passing or we're getting more thunder and lightning. It's been storming here all day long. Massive storm hitting the West Coast. So, yeah, I love the fact that Colbert made him eat it on YouTube. Um, and I'm not a entertainment employment contract expert or anything like that, but I bet you there's something in his contract that says I get to put to the stuff you don't wave through. I get to put it on YouTube because that's not broadcast. Different set of rules. Whether it's a skit they don't like or whatever. Okay, I think there's more of a grace situation when he takes the media, and he does have an echo agreement. I knew that prior to this incident. He can echo anything he wants to his media spaces. And that's pretty standard today because there's so many people that they don't interface with you through broadcast television. They interface with you on YouTube or on Facebook or Instagram, some sort of social media. Okay. Oh, and a warning to people on Substack. The far right and even some of the very Nazi-minded shitheads are showing up more often. Um, I didn't get another direct interaction like I got a couple of weeks ago, but I know other writers and content producers on this platform, they're getting hit pretty bad. I blocked a few accounts just as a precaution because they were just such troll accounts. But keep an eye out for them. They're trying to cover all the bases, and what was happening today was they're trying to get people to. Of course, they make a stupid troll comment and they said, no, the real story's over on right wing platform A, B, or C. And then they were doing it, in the orders of, dozens to 100 times, across a few different channels. And I think it's more they're trying to recruit the young men into the Proud Baby space, to the far right alpha bro bullshit sphere, where you just sit around in a circle and you lie to each other and tell each other how you're big boys. It's not how life works, buds. Not how life works at all. It's actually sickening to see young men facing a lot of negatives anyways, and then here comes the big lie that someone cares about you and is telling you the truth and is going to send you a Doge savings dividend check, and they eat it up whole. But they get to a space like Substack or Blue Sky, and there's a couple other ones that are pretty cool, but it's ones I've been hanging out a lot lately. They're looking for something other than Reddit. They're looking other than, right-wing Twitter. They want to open up their information space, which is a good thing. We've talked about that before. Biggest problem we have with the MAGA types is their monolithic absorption of information. It usually comes from majority Fox News or Newsmax or one of the far right news channels, and it is supplemented by almost complete deep far right social media. And it's getting disturbing because remember one of the things we have to do is we've got to encourage, family, friends, yada, 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 neighbors, fellow church members, whatever, moms at the soccer club, whatever. We got to get more people out to vote. We got them thinking more independently, and they've got to have a better source of information. And what's disturbing, if you're locked into Newsmax, OAN, and Fox News, and then a couple of right wing Twitter feeds or Facebook channels or YouTube channels, they're getting such a slanted version of the news right now. Like if you watch Fox News, you would barely know that most of the industrialized world is completely up in arms about the Epstein files. And they want to know the shit, however the shit went down, whether it was financial supports, financial transactions, money laundering, actual assaults. Because now they're talking about some very big names in Europe. They're going to be investigated for not just statutory rape, but violent assaultive rapes. So everywhere but America, it seems like the Epstein files is being taken seriously. There's prosecutorial judges being assigned. There are investigative teams. Um, what was it? Poland, Tusk. Yeah, he's personally supervising the response investigative team in his country, and it's one of 6 or 7 countries now that have large scale investigations, and they want to go through everything. And this brings up one of the points I was correct about. This dumb shit about sitting around trying to stupidly redact everything, knowing that redacting Trump's name doesn't mean too much because his name's going to pop up everywhere anyways. Um, there was more than one copy of the file. Um, the shit they're going after the prince formerly known as Prince Andrew. Uh, Andrew's in a shit world of trouble, and yeah, trouble with girls, and misconduct, criminality, and also there's some new indications that he went on diplomatic missions and received state gifts, uh, and then he took them. So that's kind of like grand larceny. And some of those gifts ended up in the hands of, guess who? Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. So if your friend, your grandfather, your older aunt, whatever, if they're sitting with their ass camped in front of cable TV and Fox News is on, they think the Epstein files are a hoax. The rest of the industrialized world considers them a very, very, very bad set of felonies. They're all investigating, and people are going to go down in other countries. Um, I've been convinced for a long time that at least the Miami Herald, if not several newspapers, have at least a good chunk of the investigative material for Epstein, um, or they shared it amongst themselves, like some of the earlier cases where they use the secure repos to share information with each other in case one of them gets picked off. Yes, it is thunder and lightning, giant thunderbolt just across the sky over the bay. So we need um, we need to open up people's minds. We need them to just go find something in the middle. It doesn't have to be a left leaning organization because a lot of small C conservative outlets they're covering this just like NBC News or PBS, NPR. Um, a lot of the entertainment rags are doing. I mean, People.com are doing investigative stories on this. This is how wild this is because a lot of other papers are refusing to do the heavy work. It's all coming down to a weird mix of people that a weird mix of news organizations that you would have never predicted would have led something like this. You'd always assume it would be CBS News, the Washington Post, New York Times, maybe the LA Times. But that's not what's happening right now. And it's gotten freaking weird. So we gotta get more people to change the dial. And I think one of the things, whoa, that one was close. Um, if they don't understand how bad we're getting screwed over and how bad they are lying, like how many different stories, like is any other in any other administration, Any administration post World War II, Howard Lutnick would have already been fired if he didn't throw his resignation on the floor where he ran out the door. I mean, how many different fucking stories can one guy come up with about his relationship, yay or nay, about Jeffrey Epstein? You know, and he's been caught in some egregious fucking lies. This whole thing went through. I didn't know him. I barely knew him. To yeah, we were literally next door neighbors. I went to his island with my family, and I started a business with him. That sounds like you knew him quite well. How could you ever describe this? Uh, I want to see the 302s. I want to see a lot more of the 302s before I decide that. But I think they're all suspects. That's for sure. For sure, they are suspects. There's no doubt in my mind. But we'll never know, and the common voter will not know if they're literally just not being given the information. Why did all these people lie so many times about Epstein? Why did the criminal investigation and the criminal prosecution literally fall apart from the very start? You know, why was Ghislaine Maxwell given preferential treatment in prison when she's a very serious sex offender? Like, why the fuck does she have internet access and a puppy while in custody? She's not even supposed to be at the facility she's at. She doesn't qualify. You know, we gotta stop telling people that there's this magical mystery fucking organization out there that's all out to get you. Meanwhile, the people actually committing the crime are running the show. You're not going to get that information watching Fox News. Fox Noise, as I love to call it. Okay, no matter how much put Jessica Tarloff on there. Okay, she's being drowned out by 80% clapback based on bullshit they know is not true. And some of the comments coming out of that channel in defense, because they're running out of excuses. It may be time to play the "Where's your morals" card with the friend or family who's still watching this shit. Jesse Waters called Epstein the other day the sex rabbi, and then laughed his ass off like it was the funniest thing he ever heard. Okay, you're watching this shit? The sex rabbi was going to go to prison again for being a pedophile. When did pederasty become popular? Become the cool thing to do with all these rich white males on television? You were the rule of law crowd 20 seconds ago. Now there's no law you're willing to enforce unless it's against somebody who doesn't like Dear Leader Pornstar Humper. This is an absolutely terrible situation. And with considering how many people's minds have been just simply polluted by Fox Noise, OAN, Newsmax, fucking idiots podcast, including the idiot who just came back he was so invested in the FBI. Two hours after he left the FBI, he's back doing his podcast. Fucking clown show. A degenerate clown show of con artists, wannabe fucking entertainers, clickbaiters that are all being led by a pedophile gang who's literally robbing us blind. And I mean, when you're the president and you sue the government, essentially suing yourself and demand $10 billion in your lawsuit, and then you announce that you think it's fair to pay him $10 billion, the shakedowns are incredible. After the 10 billion, what comes next? Because he's got a half a what how much, I don't know how much he sold that oil for. Retail, that oil was like a third of a billion or something like that. That tanker he seized in Venezuela, then sold off the oil and put the money in a Qatar and created a slush fund that's being controlled by his campaign donor. Okay, are they telling you that on Fox News? Probably not. The fact that a second illegal treasury has been opened up in Qatar, that's what we're doing? How do you wave the flag about that on Fox News? Huh? That seems to be awfully, awfully, awfully absurd. And if we can't have competitive candidates go on to interview shows all of a sudden, unless everybody is given equal time to the second, or Brendan Carr will take away our broadcast license. Okay, how the hell are we supposed to get information to people? And I said this at the very beginning when we were heading into the election, and I said, you guys give him power again, he'll burn everything fucking down. And he's about halfway there right now. Okay. They're literally making up versions of the law that seem to apply to them, but don't apply to anybody else. This absolute presidential immunity, did that apply to Biden? No, it did not. They made that absolutely clear. No, it did not. Did it apply to Obama? No, it did not. Remember, he's black, so of course it didn't apply to him with the white gangsters. If Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris were to get elected, would absolute unquestionable immunity be assigned to them? Nope, not even for a second. They're making up laws that apply only to Trump, the same way Saddam Hussein made up laws that only applied to Saddam Hussein. Idi Amin made laws that only applied to Idi Amin. He could do it because he's the great savior dictator. Get it? And again, they're watching Fox News. They think inflation is zero. The Moody's analyst I watched this afternoon says it's 3%. The government's reporting it at about a 2.4, 2.5. Because remember, they blew away all the October data, so it's a bigger guess than normal this year. Or last year, the 2025 numbers. So they think inflation is defeated. No. And inflation's about to spike hard. Okay? You're going to see major construction shutdowns. I doubt they're telling you that the Texas Housing Association, telling you on Fox News, the Texas Housing Association just doubled the time to delivery for a newly built home because they're arresting or scared away all the labor. So, yeah, if you're watching some right-wing fucking brown shirt outfit on the TV, you think we're winning. We're heading into a bridge abutment at about 90 miles an hour in a Ford Pinto backwards. That's what's really happening in America. And it doesn't help that the Democratic leadership is absolutely feckless. And I can't just blame them. I got to credit the only other standing Republican that can really mouth off to Trump and get away with it is George W. Bush. Fucking haven't heard much of him, have we? I mean, I may not be a great fan of W, but I think a W was about 4,000 times better than this literal nonstop criminal crew. I don't remember Bush trying to shake down $10 billion from the taxpayer, in a bogus lawsuit. I got 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. Oh, am I tired? My butt hurts. Oh. Oh. But we got to get people to better sources of information. And when people don't understand why Colbert got taken off the air, we need to explain it to them. Okay? There are literally problems in ownership in media America all through these big networks. The media has been consolidated and consolidated again. Billionaire owners have taken over, and they're literally telling us what we can watch. And if we don't listen, they're going to take away people's broadcast license. Okay. While they bitch and moan about being canceled. Canceled's worse than death. Oh my God, it's so horrible. But they, what do? Cancel, cancel, cancel. Do what I say or you're out of business. They told that to newspapers, TV stations, comedians, uh, universities. And now they're literally threatening people to the point they're not allowing content on their air. Okay. We need to have a better informed electorate, and changing the channel is probably the first step to that. If we can get the people who are listening to the far right, or just the con artists of the right, and there's plenty of those. Greg Gutfeld is a great example. The fake libertarian and fake liberal Bill Maher is another. But I want to concentrate now is get people off the far right. We'll work on the far left later, because the far right's by far doing the much, 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 much more damage. They're burning out people's brains. I was reading in, I forget where, Forbes maybe, how there are people stepping up and starting deprogramming outfits to help people get out of MAGA because they realize they got duped. I'm like, well, there's a start. But the problem is pretty vast, because even at 20%, he's got a couple of 10 million people that are buying his bullshit for whatever reason. And we have to get that number down any way possible. Oh. Okay. Go to summary. There's no way I'm doing the cool down tonight. So yeah, pay attention. Be on the lookout for the next incident, because it's going to happen quick. They're going to shut something else down, and maybe it probably will be again on CBS, because of the Barry Weiss problem. She's loving being the third Reich Fraulein of America. She's loving it. She's eating it up. She's getting her clickbait. She's getting her attention. And one of the things we may have to consider is like flash mobbing the streaming services. Hey, if you're literally going to censor everything you're going to put on the air, why do we even have your service? If we're told that this is coming up, 2 nights from now, a big interview that I had planned to sit down and watch, and you just strip it out of the programming for pretty lame ass reasons where we know you're intimidating people. Maybe we can get, a few million people all to disconnect from Hulu and Netflix in a week. And maybe when they start losing real money, maybe they'll decide they need to grow a set, because the surrender monkey shit is still happening, still annoying. I'm just fear that this interview on Colbert, this was the test. This was, can we get away with actually stopping something right before it airs? Can we literally control the signal in civilian broadcasting? Which I've been saying for years, the FCC has way too much authority, way too much. Their job is technical. It's management of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's not content. It's not morals. It's not protecting the children. Especially when you're whining about a paid service, then you complain how your children are being harmed because I bought a paid service and I don't like it. Then cancel your subscription, asshole. Your problem is solved. Jeez. I invite you to go take a look at the essay I wrote yesterday, speaking of businesses, and talking about 2 different approaches to the same problem, and why we need to allow things like this to happen. And it parlays into this discussion here. We should allow Colbert, within very wide guardrails, to have any guest he wants and have any discussion he wants. Okay, to threaten him over an opaque and arcane rule and force the cancellation of a broadcast, that's super un-American. I don't like it. So got another essay or 2 in the works, got a couple of drafts going, and I'll probably be online later in the week with another video. Thank you for joining. It's going to be short tonight because I just want to get up and do my workout. And I will talk to you soon. Until next time, please think about it.